Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Good afternoon. We're gonna wait a couple minutes and for more people to join us, and then we'll start the session here at about 2:15. I hope everyone's doing well this afternoon. I was watching some of Lauren's presentation a little bit ago and saw quite a few questions that were relating to financial aid. So hopefully I get some answers. But if you have anything right now, just go ahead and submit it, and we'll get started here very shortly. Hope you're all doing well. Good afternoon. So we'll get started here in a couple minutes, but just to introduce myself, my name is Hank Crawford. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid here at the University of Pittsburgh. So the next half an hour is just going to be Q&A about financial aid. Hopefully you can get everything you have answered. If not, I'll definitely get back to you. Again, name is Hank Crawford, Associate Director of Financial Aid. Just wanted to give you our contact information. If you have anything important that you would want to ask that is personal information, and please ask that you do not share it here. Keep those questions private, and you can reach our staff. Our number, 412-624-7488, and you'll choose option 2, or you can email us at finaid@pitt.edu, and that's FINAID@pitt.edu. We're also setting up personal appointments with students here starting next week, so we can do live Zoom chats similar to what we're doing now, or we can just do phone calls. So we'll have that available to you all as well. So any questions to get started? If not, then I can kind of jump into where we're at in the process and hopefully get things rolling for you. I don't see anything to start. So just really where we're at now. I mean, you've all been admitted to the University of Pittsburgh. You should have gotten your financial aid offer in the mail or via email by now, I should say. If you haven't, you do want to reach out to our office to make sure that we do have your information. But really, the big question now is, now what, right? So you have your offer, and let's see how we can fill in that gap. And so there are plenty of options, right? We're going to talk about scholarships. We're going to talk about loans. We're going to talk about payment plans. So really anything at that point. So just one of the questions here we have about work study. So federal work study is a need-based program. Not all students are eligible to receive it, but those who are can work on campus. And so if it is on your award offer, that is something you can work with. And we'll start posting those jobs in August. Let's see, why do we cut off merit-based financial aid at a certain ACT, SAT score? We only give about 22% of our incoming students a merit-based scholarship. Unfortunately, we don't have enough funds to give everyone. So we do have to have certain tiers on that. Let's see, we have, can we appeal for scholarships if we've gotten anything? Unfortunately, at this point in time, our merit scholarships have already been awarded, and that deadline was on March 1st. So if you haven't received the merit scholarship at this point in time, you won't be receiving one. But I do want to point everyone to our campus-based scholarship program, Pitt Funds Me. And if you log into your my.pitt.edu account, on the right-hand side, you'll see the tab for Pitt Funds Me. And you will be able to apply and fill out several questions. And there are hundreds of questions in there. And you'll be eligible for, you could be eligible or matched, I should say, to both our institutional scholarships, and we have just over 2,200 institutional scholarships that are outside of those merit admission-based scholarships that you may be eligible for. And some of those are department specific, and those departments will award those. So, you'd be contacted if you're awarded it in such a way. But that's also a tool for our external scholarships. So one of the things that we really want to drive students to right now is that Pitt Funds Me website to fill out and answer those questions to see what you could be eligible for. There are right now over 10,000 vetted scholarships on that website. And what I mean vetted, it means, that is what we pay a company to make sure that they're legitimate scholarships. And so as you keep answering questions, you'll see it's almost like if you're familiar with TurboTax, you'll be matched with X amount of scholarships that could equivalent, with an equivalent amount of funding. And then it'll take you out to that particular application to fill out. Let's see here, a lot of scholarship questions. Can you reapply for merit scholarships each year? Unfortunately, no, you cannot. So once merit scholarships are awarded, that is for 4 years. And then you'll have to meet the satisfactory academic progress guidelines for merit scholarships, which is a 3.0, and maintain a 2/3 completion ratio, which, speaking of satisfactory academic progress, and that goes across the board with all federal financial aid, that you need to be making satisfactory academic progress, which means from a federal standpoint for your federal loans and your Pell Grant, if you're less than 30 credits, a 1.5 GPA, completing 2/3 of your classes, or if you're above 30 credits, you need a 2.0 GPA with 2/3 of a completion ratio. Does your tuition cover study abroad costs? So study abroad, there's two different ways. There are two different types of programs to study abroad, and I can answer that question and get back to you because I have part of the information for you right now. So study abroad, it'll either be like a Pitt approved, and it'll just be like you're at the University of Pittsburgh, only you will be overseas, and so your financial aid will cover it that way. If it's not, then you would be paying the particular cost of that university, and you'd have to set up the payment through a third party, and it would be handled that way. A grant's renewable. So as long as if you have the federal Pell Grant or for PA residents, the Pennsylvania State Grant, they're renewable as long as you're meeting a couple things. One, need. So those are both need-based grants. And so you have to have certain criteria to meet need, and I'll explain that here in a second. So, but you also have to meet your satisfactory academic progress, which I had just gone over as well. In terms of need, this is kind of, it's going to be hard without a visual, but the need calculation is your cost of attendance. So the cost of room, board, tuition, fees, minus your expected family contribution would be your need. So very simple here. Let's say your cost of attendance was $30,000, your expected family contribution was $10,000, then your financial need would be $20,000. And that's how we'd figure off need-based aid. Let's see here. Are there any other school scholarships that we can apply for? Going back to the Pitt Funds Me, again, I'm going to plug that a lot because it's something that my team works on and is currently still developing. My.pitt.edu, and you want to go and fill out the application, or I shouldn't say applications, but the qualifying questions. You can do that every semester. I do suggest that students are in there at least twice a year, because what happens with some of these departmental or institutional endowments is, since graduate in December, maybe that, they've met, the award may have only been for so long, or they maybe didn't meet the criteria, and funds open up mid-year. So we can always go in and look at that mid-year. Can you negotiate merit scholarships? At this point in time, you cannot. Like I said, once merit scholarships were sent, they've been out, and that process is over at this point. Is need-based aid set in stone? That's a fantastic question. And it's kind of a yes and no. So need-based aid is based on your FAFSA. So if you've not completed a FAFSA yet, you'd want to do that now. But if you have already done that, we have determined your need based on the cost of attendance with that expected family contribution that your FAFSA produces. Now, I recognize that in some situations, in some situations, that expected family contribution may not be the reality of your family's financial situation. So we'll base the need off of that. But there are certain circumstances, and actually, right now is a good example where in this time with COVID-19, that some people were impacted financially by that, or loss of a job in a previous year, because you remember with the FAFSA, we're looking at 2 years back. And if there's a change in income, we can do what's called a special consideration or professional judgment. And we'd want you to reach out to our office and talk to our counselors about that and go through the process. So your need may change based on that. So let's say maybe there was a job loss. We can look to see if that would impact your EFC in your need. So the other thing too with that is, let's say you had 1 year where we based your need on a family of 4, and 2 of your students were in college. But that next year, 1 student graduates. Well, your expected family contribution is going to be different, because the FAFSA will calculate how many people are in the household, but also how many are enrolled in college. So that may change 1 year from the next. So your EFC may be lower 1 year, and then all of a sudden it's higher, and you're like, well, nothing changed for me in terms of income. But one of my children did graduate. Well, that would be a difference. And why? So need-based aid, could change from year to year based on your particular situation. Let's see here. How do outside scholarships affect need? That's a great question, because they can actually. And if you do receive an outside scholarship, what we do ask you to do is an information update form, and that is located on our website. And if you go to oafa.pitt.edu, that's the OFA website, go to the financial aid tab and go to our forms and complete one of those. So we would like to know, if you're going to receive outside aid, because we can help calculate if that would impact it or not. I can't say it would or it would not. It would all depend on your particular situation. Can you negotiate any aid is a question I'm seeing. And that answer is really, at this point, no. Your need-based aid is set up on your FAFSA. Your merit scholarships have already been decided. So at this point, it's if there's an extenuating circumstance and you're looking to say, well, I'm not sure if I'm quite there yet, I really encourage you to set up an appointment with one of our counselors. We will be posting links to do that. Similar to, I don't know if any of you took advantage of that today or not, but we'll be doing that in the future. But also call our number again, 412-624-7488 is the number. You'll select option 2 to speak to one of our counselors. Again, there's been a lot of people that have jumped on here recently. So my name is Hank Crawford. I'm Associate Director of Financial Aid here at the University of Pittsburgh, trying to get through the slew of questions that you all have for me. This is great. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to cover a lot of this, but I'm going to go back and answer these, so you will have the answers on this stream. Outside from aid, let's see here. Outside of aid, a lot of outside aid questions that I've just kind of gone over. Will there be any deadlines be changed because of COVID-19? At the moment, no. There will not be. If there is, it will be communicated to you. I think it's a great question. In terms of something that I just said, if you're financially impacted by this, I would encourage you. It's hard to do what I was talking about, a professional judgment right now, because we don't know the end of this. We're not sure how long it's going to go. So we're kind of holding off on that to, so maybe June is a good time to reach out to us if you're impacted by it now. Let's see here. When do you hear back about any institutional scholarships that you may have applied for? That's a great question. So a lot of the institutional scholarships that I had mentioned about on Pitt Funds Me, the departments are, selecting those students really anywhere between early summer and then throughout the year. Every department's different on how they do it. And so there's not a direct answer to that because everyone does do it different. But in terms of how we do it here in our office, if there's any other scholarships, we try to get those out before what we call the balance due notification. That is a fancy name for a bill, and those come out in July. So what we'd want to show you is that, hey, you may be getting this additional fund prior to that balance due notification going out, so you can calculate that into your payment. There's a question here about payment plans. Great question. So we do offer payment plans. There is a charge. It's $45 per semester, and you can do that in 6 month increments. Now, doing that now, so you don't really know what the cost is going to be for the fall, right? Because we haven't set our tuition cost, and that'll usually happen in late June. So your first couple months on that 6 month payment plan for the fall is going to be estimated, and then what will happen is they'll recalculate it so it'll be accurate to the cost. But payment plans are an option for you to do in those 6 month increments. Tuition is due, so you'll get those balance due notifications in July. And then about mid-September is when the tuition is due for the fall semester. And then the spring semester, you'll get a balance due notification in December with that tuition being due for the spring semester in January. Again, though, you can do a 6 month increment in a payment plan for that as well. Let's see, how do we make sure we make payments on time? And then the Student Payment Center does handle that, and PitPay. So I would recommend that you do go to their website, and I will get it to you here. It's in my notes. And sorry, I'm looking away. Just want to make sure you get what you need today. So I'll get back to that. So the Payment Center, I will get, it's payments.pitt.edu. And that's where you'll find all the information about your payment plans. It's also too, those of you who are setting up 529s, which, there's a question about that. Anyone that has a 529, you're going to want to set that payment up about 3 to 4 weeks prior to wanting that payment to go through, just for processing time. Those of you that do have 529s, it's pretty much on how you want to do that. I've seen people will use like it all the first year. Some will spread it out over the 4 years that the student is in school. So it's kind of on your personal choice, but also your financial situation at the time too. Does the amount of Panther Pride Award vary year by year? So typically it does not. The Panther Pride Award, once it's awarded, it's typically that. Now, if there's a great swing in need, we may do that, and we may see that. That's a good question, because it's something that we don't see a lot of in terms of change. But I don't want to say that once you get a Panther Pride Award, it's definitely going to stay the same. Because if there's a great swing one way or another, it may be, like I said, typically once you're awarded that amount, that's what you would receive. If your expected family contribution is higher, then maybe you could see that impacted. Alumni Association scholarship decision date. I've not been aware of when they're doing those. I know that the Alumni Association has several different scholarships with their clubs and organizations throughout the country. So typically, they're looking at those and evaluating really right about now. So we should, I don't want to give a date or anything, but I know that because I work with that department, that's something that they are working on at the moment, and that's usually earlier in the summer, midsummer. Let's see here. What do you need to qualify? What resources do you have to help students manage debt? Fantastic question. We actually have, office, I didn't tell you this earlier. Our office is located in 130 Thackeray Hall, and we have that staffed from 8:30 to 5 o'clock every day. And we will do a lot of sessions with our students. Our counselors will have debt management or financial wellness sessions on, how to create budgets, how to manage your money. And that's an important thing, because when we talk about financial aid, it's you think about, okay, we're going to take care of the bill, right? That's what we're, but it's greater than that. So once the students are on campus, how do we manage money? How do we create budgets? And we do have sessions for those that our staff is willing and able to reach out to students. They have gone out into many of the residence halls and worked with the RAs to set up evening events. So I do know that our counselors are willing to do that, and we do have programs, because that is important. Money management is the key to success, and the earlier you start that, the better. I don't want to sit here and talk about financial aid the whole time, so that's my money management piece to that. And that is something that we're continuing to develop as well. So there will be more programming as this year continues. Let's see. Does tuition change yearly? Great question. It does change yearly. So typically, if you look right now, if you go out to our website and look at the tuition, you'll see, like, for instance, I'll look at arts and sciences. If you're a PA resident, arts and sciences is estimated at $19,078. That's what we have the cost of attendance based on. Now, our tuition, though, isn't set until June, and you can pretty much expect every year that tuition will increase. I mean, that's pretty much no matter what school you're looking at. Very rarely do you ever see tuition just freeze from one year to the next. You can almost always account for there to be about a 3.5% increase, and maybe a little bit more depending on 3 to 5%. It depends. I've seen it all over the place with some schools recently. Let's see here. A lot of questions here on work study. I'll get back to that just real quick about work study. There are jobs available on campus. Work study isn't available to everyone. If you do have it on your financial aid offer, it is something that you would be eligible for. It is a need-based award, like I had said before. So, once, around August, our office does hire, those jobs will be posted. So students can go out and review the jobs to see what's out there and see what they may be eligible for. Let's see here. A lot of work study jobs. Let me go in real quick because it's something that had come up before about loans. Just want to real quick talk about loans. It was a question earlier. So subsidized, unsubsidized loans, those are federal loans. The subsidized loan is a federal-based loan, is a need-based loan. Both of those right now have a 5.05% interest rate on them, but the subsidized actually does not have an interest rate. So unsubsidized 5.05%, subsidized the interest is actually being paid for by the government. And then when we talk about Parent Plus loans, that's another loan that some parents will choose to take. It's a federal loan, interest rate 7.08%. There's a fee to both the sub and unsub loans as well as the Parent Plus loan. Sub and unsub loan fee 1.062%, and that'll change in October. I'm not sure what it will change to yet. And the fee for the Parent Plus loan is a 4.23% disbursement fee, and that's so if you need like $10,000 for that Parent Plus loan, if that's how you're going to cover the gap, you would need to borrow a little bit more to make sure that you to cover that fee. So Parent Plus loans, just to touch base on that, because I see a couple questions on it. So if you decide to take a Parent Plus loan, and so let's say you have you need to cover about $10,000, right, to make this work, and you decide to do a Parent Plus loan, you can start applying for those loans really at the end of June. We'll set it, or I'm sorry, at the end of May, and we'll set those up in June. And you really want to do it for the academic year. Anytime you take a loan out, so the parents and students are talking about the entire academic year. We want to take the loan out for the entire year. So if it's a Parent Plus loan, you'll take it, the entire year is $10,000, but the balance would be $5,000 fall, $5,000 spring. You do the $10,000 that way, it's just all said and done with. You don't have to really worry about anything except for filing the FAFSA again in October, and that way the year is taken care of. So Parent Plus loans or private loans, you would want to take care of those really in early June. We really want to try to get that on before that balance due notification goes out in July, like I'd said. Now, I'm going to shift gears to the private loans or alternative loans. Those are loans that the student actually takes out in their names, and they'll need a cosigner, credit-worthy cosigner. And so depending on the credit score is going to depend on the interest rate that you get for those loans. And so you'll take it out for the year. Now, some of those some of those private loans, those will be, you can get them out to 4 years. You can actually, to qualify for a 4-year loan, and then just kind of go in and do a soft credit check every year to get the additional loans for that said year. So let's say you borrow $40,000, you can take it incremental over 4 years. Some people will just do 1 year at a time. Really, it's your preference at that point in time. Let's see here. How do I see my financial aid offer? So if you don't have your financial aid offer yet, I want you to call 412-624-7488. We've already sent those electronically. So if you don't have it, we may not have yours on file. And if we don't have it on file, you may even want to log into FAFSA and look at the school code. It's 008815 is our federal school code that you'd want on the FAFSA but you can always call our office. One of our counselors will take a look, or you can email us at finaid, FINAID, at pitt.edu. Definitely take a look for that, because if you've been admitted and you've already completed a FAFSA, it should be on file. Any of the, I was talking about the federal loans there for a minute, and any of that, studentaid.gov is the website. One thing I would recommend, studentaid.gov, you can actually download an app on your phone, and it gives you all of the federal information that you need. It's really handy. I have it on my phone. I use it all the time, where I pull some of the information up, just on the fly rather than looking it up. You can also fill out your FAFSA on the app too. So it is very mobile friendly. Is Pitt Funds Me only available to upperclassmen? No, it's not. So any admitted student, you can go in there right now and start completing the questions. Now, I will say this with the Pitt Funds Me thing: for institutional aid, for institutional scholarships, and you'll see the difference between institutional and outside scholarships. If it's outside of Pittsburgh University of Pittsburgh, I should say, you'll see a globe. If it is an institutional scholarship, then you'll see a Parthenon. And the institutional scholarships that are available will show only when the applications for the departments are open. What we're working to do is create a catalog for that, so you'll be able to see all of those. But it'll sit on top of that website, and that should be open at some point this summer, so you can see all of the university's scholarships. You just won't be able to apply to them in that catalog until they're open through Pitt Funds Me. The app that I was talking about, studentaid.gov, so out to the App Store, you can download it. Again, I do recommend it. It's a great tool, and it goes into even like repayment once you graduate. The different, I've used it for my own personal loans, like different repayment options that you have. Just to go back to that real quick, because I didn't say this about the sub and unsub loans and even the Parent Plus loans. Those can be deferred while you're in school, right? So you're not making payments on those until the student graduates, or until you as the student will graduate, until 6 months after graduation. Or if you were to stop out, it would be 6 months after that point. So I did want to be clear on that. Now, the Parent Plus loans and the unsubsidized loans, I would recommend that you set up, you do a quarterly payment on the interest. That way that it helps keep the interest accruing. And that does capitalize it and ends up on principal at the end once the loan does go into repayment if you're not doing that. So just a tip there. Can we apply for more scholarships as freshmen? Again, the merit scholarship, no, but I would advise you to do the Pitt Funds Me. The other thing too, if you have not done this yet, and I know it's a little bit weird this year because many schools are already, have gone to remote or distance learning, I would reach out to your guidance counselors, or to see if your school, your high school has a website of local scholarships. One thing that I will say that most students, and you as a student, I know you're probably sitting there thinking, here we go, this guy's going to tell me to go out and apply for these, and I don't want to write essays, but I encourage you to do that. Some of the easier scholarships to apply for are those local ones close to your location. I myself, whenever I went, did my undergrad, I went through, my parents nudged me and I listened, and I went through and I did apply to a lot of the local ones. I did end up getting one, and it was for $2,000, which was a decent amount of money for 4 years. So, that saved me $8,000 overall. So I do encourage you to, look at your high school, look at your local scholarships. Ask your parents, parents out there, does your company, do they do anything in terms of scholarships? That is something, it's a resource too, that you'd want to look at too. Are there difference between graduate level financial aid? Yes, there are. Once you as a student, the parents are more involved at the undergraduate level, but once a student hits the graduate level, so many of you are probably going to go on and get a master's degree, or maybe even a PhD or doc, or maybe you're looking at med or law school. So once you are in that grad level school, it's all unsubsidized federal loans. It's $20,500. The parents are not involved in it. Now you could do what's called a Graduate Plus loan, and that's similar to that Parent Plus loan that I was talking about. So if you need a little bit more money than that $20,500 for your program, then you'd have to borrow. You'd have to go out and look at that Graduate Plus loan. It's a soft credit check, just like the Parent Plus loan. But most grad, at that point, the parents are out of the picture, and it's mostly loans. Now, there may be some grad assistantships or that that you could qualify for. It all depends on your program. So grad level funding is definitely different than undergrad. Now there may still be some schools, that have scholarships, but most of the time it's self-funded through loans. How much is tuition usually increase per year? It's kind of hard to say, but like I said, I ballpark it around 3.5%. Sometimes I've seen it creep up a little bit higher than that, but I always, 3.5 is pretty much on the safe side. Please repeat the info on a loan management app. So it is, and I'm pulling my phone out right now to just make sure that, it's the Federal Student Aid, My Student Aid app, and it's available at both the Apple and Google stores. Does financial aid scholarship change if a student applies to the honors program after freshman year? It would depend on what, typically no, but it would depend on this type of scholarship that you had at the time. So, that's kind of one of those gray areas. And typically if you apply and are accepted afterwards, you just want to reach out to our office to see if there was anything else. Can talk more about work study. Again, going back, that's a popular thing. So work study, again, those jobs are posted. Work study is again, one of those need-based awards. So not everyone has it, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a student employee. And so let me differentiate the two. There's student employees, which would be paid out of basically you're not eligible for federal work study and you're paid out of that department. And then there's federal work study students who have work study money. It's what we call campus-based funding. The federal government gives us X amount of money in federal work study. We pay out of that. So again, need-based, but those jobs are usually posted in August, and you'll be notified when those are out there. And typically, we have federal work study students in our office. We can go through an interview process. One of the things that we try to do is, the real world's not that far away, even though you're just starting the college process now, and you're a few months away from starting. But we want to get you that interview experience, so we do a full-fledged interview with you. Let's see here. Would it be better to be a student employee or do work study? With work study, there's, if you're eligible for work study, it's $3,000 a year, and you're typically capped at that. Depending on the department, student employment may be a little bit different. There's not one thing that's better than the other. It depends on your situation and the time that you're able to really divide between your studies, anything that you're involved in, and your employment. Let's see here. Let's see, a lot of questions on the tuition going up, which I've covered. Just another thing to think of too. I talked about this about 20 minutes ago. For those of you who jumped on recently, about the payment plans. It is an option. There's 6-month increments, $45 a semester. It's three-month increments if you do decide to attend school over the summer. But that's something you'd want to set up and then get those started. And then once your balance due notification goes out, we've set tuition for the year, it'll recalculate, and then you would be notified of the new payment. Can I file an appeal for financial aid? So that's kind of a broad question. And so let me answer it like this. So if you have an extenuating circumstance in your family and you've been impacted by a job loss or something else that is taking you into a different position or situation financially, you can contact our office, again, FinAid, FINAID at pitt.edu, or call us 412-624-7488, option 2, and ask to talk about what we call professional judgment, and talk to our financial aid counselors about your situation. Because, if there was loss of employment or a decrease in income, we can take a look at your situation and figure out if there's ways that we can help you out. So, that would be it's not an appeal per se, but it's us looking at comprehensively at your financial situation in that moment to see, is there something that we can do for you? I've seen this before where it's maybe a keystroke when you're filing out the FAFSA, you added a 0, and it's simple as me asking questions like, well, did you really mean to put, $45,000 in there whenever it should have been $4,500 in there? So we will look at your FAFSA, make sure that everything's comprehensive, and then go from there. Let's see here. Let's see. How does tuition work for the summer term? So it's set up per credit, so it's a little bit different. And so what we do with summer term is a lot different than with a regular year. Typically, what we have to do the regular year, we'll set you up and we give you your financial aid offer, and you're good for the year. And after this year, something I do want to touch base with you all on. So we had to file the FAFSA on October 1, and everything kind of goes through the process. It's your freshman year. You're paying attention. You receive the emails. You still want to file out FAFSA every year, October 1. But your financial aid your financial aid offer won't come to you until we calculate your satisfactory academic progress after that spring semester. So we need to make sure grades hit. But back to that question about summer financial aid, we have to prepare that and do it manually. So we ask the student, hey, are you going to go? Fill out a form. Let us know that you're going to go to take classes over the summer, and then we will work with you at that point in time. And like I said, tuition is per credit at that point in time. How long does it take to hear back about financial aid? So if you've completed a FAFSA and you have our school code on there, 008815, you should have heard from us by now. If you haven't, reach out to us, make sure that we've got it, or make sure that you can also go out and log on, check your FAFSA to make sure you have that school code on there, but you should have it by now. If you've not done one and you do it today, we'd probably have it to you within the next week to 2 weeks at the very latest. Can you please discuss if there's a connection between merit aid and the honors college? So that's all, if you get into the honors college, there's specific aid to that. Any of the merit aid, we would be notified and then we'd have a conversation. It all depends on the situation. Am I from Oklahoma? I am not from Oklahoma. I am from Brady's Bend, Pennsylvania. It's a very small town north of Pittsburgh, about 75 miles. Do I have an accent that you would ask that question? Just curious. My brother's about to go to college. Let's see, how can I cope with him not being here? Good question. We're doing this virtually. Stay in touch. It's a little outside of my world in terms of financial aid, but I don't. So anything else about financial aid? I'm just gonna wrap it up here because we have a session starting very soon. So anything else about financial aid? You can reach out again, 412-624-7488, option number 2, or email us at finaid@pitt.edu, and we'll be glad to get back to you. Again, keep an eye. We will virtual appointments as well starting next week. I hope to hear from you all. If you have additional questions, please reach out to us. I will get to your questions I didn't get to. I know this half hour went very quick, so thank you very much for being with me. You all have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Thanks.